Hey everybody, it's Chris and Kenny again. Today we want to do a short little video on estrogen in men. So it's pretty commonplace that guys will use testosterone or any other anabolic for that matter, and they pay very little regard to the amount of testosterone they have in their system. Can you tell us why that's a mistake? Estrogen, sorry. Estrogen in their system.
I mean, if you have excess estrogen, obviously if you're taking exogenous testosterone, it's going to increase your estrogen regardless because the ratio is increased. Your testosterone increases, your estrogen is going to try to, right?
Yeah, well, so there's an enzyme in the body called aromatase, and it's how men and menopausal women make their estrogen. So you're going to have that testosterone. This enzyme converts that testosterone to a form of estrogen called estradiol. Now, that's not a bad thing. First off, because we need estrogen for a couple of reasons. You need it for sex drive. You need it to keep your veins and arteries supple. And when I say supple, I mean flexible. We don't want rigid veins and arteries. We also know, particularly in females, it's very useful for anti-dementia and anti-Alzheimer's.
That's a big deal.
Yeah, it's a big deal. It is a big deal. And so we attribute a lot of positive effects of testosterone to memory function in men. What I wonder, and I don't think the science is very clear at this point, is that could it be that conversion of testosterone to estrogen, which actually gives us that benefit too?
Yeah.
And I think as we go through the science and as we go through mostly our anecdotal studies, we'll see that that really is the case. And so to that point, shutting down your estrogen is actually a very, very bad idea. So, let's lay out a scenario. So let's just say you're a bodybuilder and you have been taking testosterone for a while, and then you start to notice any of these things. A lot of acne, maybe a little bit of emotional instability. An instability meaning that you find that you have highs and lows in your mood.
Maybe people say, I was watching a TV show and I felt like I was going to cry.
Right.
If that's happening, yeah, you probably got some estrogen in your system.
Absolutely.
So that's a dead giveaway.
And think of a family member. Think of your wife. Think of somebody who has kind of irregular periods. And they'll tell you, hey, around right now, I'm emotional right now. And they're not hiding it. You're not ashamed of it. But it is a real thing. To that point, you're not supposed to just completely obliterate your estrogen. So
yeah, there's a middle way you need to take. Obviously, if you're taking stuff and you just notice some negative side effect, people will either completely ignore it and just let it go on and on and on, or they'll just, like you said, just obliterate their estrogen with an estrogen blocker that's way too strong. Obviously, there's several ones. I don't know if there's time to talk about that, but you can just shut it off completely, and then you take away those positive things, and you experience things, your joints are super dry, they're super painful, and you take away the positives, like you said, obviously, of cognitive function, things like that.
Right. And then one of the things that, let's just talk about what clues most guys in, which makes you worry, is the gyno. All right. Yeah. So what we call otherwise known as bitch tits. You start to feel like a little nodule or something under your nipples. And hammering your estrogen at that exact moment isn't necessarily what you want to do either. So my advice would be get a blood draw, find out where you stand, and then you want to work with your practitioner and titrate your estrogen into an appropriate range, because I'm gonna tell you right now, if you shut your estrogen down to nil, you'll have erectile issues. You don't want that. All right, that's pretty obvious. And so
I'd assume there's some type of large rebound effect too. A lot of the time when you completely shut something down, it can spring back.
It can. Well, and that's you're swinging the pendulum both ways.
Yeah.
You're ebbing and flowing, and it's better to be on a more consistent flow of your estrogen. So real quick, don't use finances as your excuse to not get your estrogen tested, okay? If you can't swing $70 to get blood work done to find out where you exist in the world,
you have other things in life to be taken care of.
Stop using testosterone. Exactly. You need to figure it out, because there is a safe way to go about it. And I know it's confusing because maybe you don't know how to get the blood work done. So say you go to another doctor and they tell you to get your estrogen tested and to do whatnot is going to cost you cash pay around $100. It's worth it. It's worth it to get that knowledge, because not only that, you're also paying somebody to interpret it for you. And the same person who interprets your estrogen really should be willing to write you the prescription for anastrozole or the Arimidex.
It's just cheap.
Yeah, it's really not that big of a deal.
That was it for when I came to you. All I was aware, but what I obviously found out, hemoglobin's crazy high. That's something to take care of.
Yep.
And my estrogen was a little bit high because I was using no blockers and 750 milligrams of test or something like that. But that is good information because now okay, well, I'm a little high here, not too bad, so I can you know where to dial yourself in from then on. Even if you're not going to continuously work with somebody, have blood work done super frequently, at least okay, this is what I was doing, this is how I'm going to take care of it, and then you just watch the symptoms from then on, or periodically get checked. But
and I think the most important
people don't.
How do you feel compared since you started?
Exactly.
I mean, you feel so much better, right?
Yeah, and the outward effects taken care of now. You had acne, you had oily skin, you had gyno, you had fucking whatever. You're emotional, any of these issues, and is it in check now? And if not, then maybe you need a little bit more. Or are your joints feeling achy? Okay, maybe you need a little bit less. And I think that people don't walk the middle way with anything. It's either fucking all or nothing with people.
Right. Just the point is that like a milligram of Arimidex, and Arimidex really is the gold standard for how we block that conversion from testosterone to estrogen.
I think it's the best thing.
It's not a suicide inhibitor, so it doesn't destroy aromatase first off. So like if we overdose it, we could back it down a little bit. Arimidex is incredibly powerful. Taking a milligram of Arimidex every single day, or in some cases I've seen people prescribe 2 milligrams of Arimidex daily.
That's way too much. There's no question.
Boatload. We're not treating cancer here. What we're doing is we're trying to prevent a little bit of conversion of testosterone to estrogen.
Trying to back down the ratio a little bit.
And to that point, I have actually heard people say, my girlfriend said I shouldn't take Arimidex because Arimidex is a cancer medication.
Yeah.
That's a gomper stupid idiot. You don't listen to people like that. It blocks the conversion of testosterone to estrogen. If you have an estrogen-dependent cancer,
then they might use it.
It's very good to use it to block the cancer cells from utilizing the estrogen to propagate. All right, it is not chemotherapy.
I would say I'm not like a super heavy converter. I mean, I was taking quite a bit of stuff, and I wasn't using any estrogen blocker for a very long length of time, so I don't show outward symptoms as heavily as other people, but I noticed that my the water barrier between my skin and my muscles tightened up for sure. Especially the frequent use of the Arimidex, whatever. I'll take one of them 2 times a week or something like that, and
right.
The definition picked up big time. So for me, that was what I saw. Okay. Some people see Colby will be a water balloon, and then he can reel it in and tighten up big time.
Right.
Some people, their nipple is the immediate red light that goes off. Some people,
and that's what I was doing.
A huge thing. It's just everybody shows it in a different way, and you just need to understand how your body exhibits it, and just let that be your measuring stick sometimes,
Yeah. I wasn't a big converter at all. Not really getting emotional and not really turning into a water balloon, but like I would get the nipple sensitivity. Well, we also jacked ourselves up with pro hormones. The shit that you get at GNC or anywhere else. For me, I was fine. The injectable testosterone never did it. The unregulated, un-FDA approved garbage that you get at GNC.
Estrogen.
Yeah, whatever that stuff is. That stuff, it was more of a pro hormone, and it's like the Superdrol and whatnot. It gave me horrible gyno.
I was trying to think of the name.
Yeah, and then I ended up having to get a surgery, based off of that. But like we talked about, the injectable stuff never really did anything to me because, the injectable misses that first pass through the liver. And if you miss the first pass through the liver, so much less gets directly converted to estrone, which, without going into the weeds, estrone is the problematic estrogen. That is the one that for breast cancer, for menopause, for the prostate, for everything that we want to avoid estrone conversion as much as possible. And when you use a pro hormone, it seems to, I make a boatload of estrone, and then as a result I had a surgery. And a pretty expensive surgery at that, in order to, it's when you're talking about a gynecomastia surgery, both sides, you're looking at the equivalent of what women pay for a breast augmentation to have that surgery done. Yeah. It's no joke. And so if you can avoid that at any cost, manage your estrogen.
I think people think that it's morally better to use the pro hormones. I've never met anybody who took a pro hormone who didn't get some massive negative backlash, whether it was gyno or massive breakout that lasted a bazillion years afterward, or their
suppressing
testosterone
your
was
own
just
levels, yeah.
absolutely just shut down. And I think they think because they bought it at a store that it's morally more okay. But it goes to show, look at alcohol. Everybody is perfectly okay with that, but nobody. I don't want to.
Yeah, well, I mean, what is legal? Yeah, I mean, the powers that be have decided that this is cool,
So
but
people take that stuff and they think that it's so much better. Or they're, like you said, there's people who will do oral only cycles and stuff, and it's like, that's not the way to go either. Because obviously now you're affecting your liver much more than you would be, almost none, if you're injecting it.
I would agree that your injectable forms of testosterone are far, far safer than
almost,
anything
if you
oral.
read the profiles on them, it's almost non-existent in their toxicity.
Yeah. To that end, don't let your doctor, if this still ends up making it into the video, don't let your doctor or practitioner or anybody put you on an oral testosterone. Just don't do it. The liposomal version of testosterone is still in trials. The liposomal means it's absorbed by the gut cells. So your digestive tract, it'll absorb it into those cells, so it doesn't require a first pass through the liver. It goes directly into the bloodstream. It isn't approved yet, so it doesn't exist yet. So nobody take oral testosterone at this point. And frankly, at this point in my career, I don't think women need to be taking oral estrogen either, because of just the conversion.
Is the cream the better option?
Cream's way better. Yeah, way better. Because it skips first pass. So first pass is everything. And even furthermore, one thing that we didn't cover earlier, if your estrogen is high and you are male or female, okay, and you smoke and use nicotine, your chances of generating a blood clot are incredibly high, okay? So smoking's bad enough as it is. Nicotine use is bad enough as it is, but you throw a little bit of estrone conversion in there, all right, and now you got the nicotine. We know it's bad. There's a reason why we don't prescribe oral contraceptives with estrogen and progesterone to women over 35 who smoke. It's because the risk of stroke and heart attack and deep vein thrombosis is significantly higher. So when you're playing in the realm of using testosterone and you're going to do some stuff on your own and you're a guy out there, make no mistake, you just put yourself into another risk category. And so it's important that you understand that. Yeah. So anyways, this is kind of a short video on men. If you guys have any questions, let's go ahead and put them in the comments, and we'll catch up later. All right.